My first big skiing trip was with my friends Angel, Amy, and Jessica. We flew to Colorado and rented an Airbnb in Snowmass, right by Aspen Mountain Ski Resort. I had only snowboarded once before, just riding the bunny hill over and over. I was terrible. After landing, we Ubered to the Airbnb, a spacious four-bedroom house with a huge deck and hot tub overlooking the Colorado countryside. Since it was nighttime, we went out to a local bar for drinks. The next day, we rented gear and hit the slopes. It wasn't crowded at first, but it got busier later. I couldn't make it down a slope without falling and got so frustrated that I sat on the side, watching even little kids zoom past me. Then, a man struggling on his snowboard made his way over and asked if I was okay. He started talking, which felt weird in that setting. I answered a few questions, then got up and said, "Nice talking to you," before continuing down the mountain. A little farther down, I stopped to take another break and unfortunately saw him again. He unstrapped from his snowboard, sat a few feet away, and started talking again. He said he wasn't used to seeing so many pretty girls like me here, which was odd since my face was mostly covered. Then he asked who I was with. I lied and said my boyfriend. He laughed and said he saw me arrive with all girls. I said, "You," loudly before rushing down the mountain, suddenly snowboarding better than ever. At the bottom, I went straight to the lodge and called Amy. She met me there, and I texted our group chat saying we should leave. When Angel and Jessica finished their run, we returned our gear and Ubered back to the Airbnb. After showering and changing, we went out for dinner, bar hopped, and got drunk. Later, we relaxed in the hot tub before heading to bed. I'm basically an insomniac, so I stayed up scrolling TikTok for over an hour. Then, I heard footsteps in the common area. I assumed one of the girls was up until I heard my doorknob twist. I sat up, ready to say a name, but stopped. Why would one of them be trying to get in? I texted, "Who is that?" No one answered. I tiptoed to the door and listened. Slow, deliberate footsteps, then silence. My heart pounded. I carefully unlocked the door and peeked into the living room. My eyes adjusted to the darkness, and then I saw him. A tall, black silhouette moving from one door to another, testing each knob. My stomach dropped. I wanted to scream but was frozen. I quietly shut and locked my door. Please, please let them have locked theirs too. With shaking hands, I called 911, whispering to the operator. Then, soft knocks on my door. My blood ran cold. The doorknob twisted. He was trying to get in. I whispered, "Please hurry." The woman on the line kept saying, "They're almost there. Stay quiet." Then, shoving. Banging. He was trying to force his way in. I couldn't help it anymore. I screamed, "Get out of here. I'm on the phone with 911." Everything went silent. Then a voice from the other side. "Okay, sweetheart." My skin crawled. Footsteps retreated. I stayed on the phone, shaking. Police arrived minutes later, entering through the unlocked front door. They searched the house and confirmed he was gone. We checked every lock and tried to sleep, but it was impossible. Was it the man from the mountain? Had he followed us? I replayed his voice in my head. The more I thought about it, the more certain I was. It was him. After getting a partial refund from the Airbnb host, we spent Sunday sightseeing instead of snowboarding. We stayed at a motel that night and flew home Monday morning. I haven't been skiing since. Whenever I was scared as a kid, my dad always told me, "Don't be scared of ghosts. Fear the living. They can actually hurt you." I didn't understand what he meant until later. In my late teens, my dad committed suicide. I inherited some money and was left with more questions than answers. At the time of his passing, my mom and dad owned a cabin in Oregon by Mount Bachelor. The place was beautiful, but isolated. It was up for sale since my mom couldn't afford the payments anymore, and renting it out wasn't cutting it. The listing was set to go live in a month, and during that time, it would sit vacant. I decided to clear my head and drove up there with my dog, Midnight. The first 2 days were peaceful. Nothing strange happened. I spent my days playing with Midnight, snowboarding, and drinking on the balcony. The cabin had a living room, guest bedroom, small kitchen on the first floor, and 2 more bedrooms on the second floor. I mostly stayed in the living room, kitchen, or my bedroom. On the 3rd day, a heavy snowfall kept me indoors, and I stuck to my usual routine. Then things got strange. I noticed fresh footprints in the snow around my cabin, leading into the trees. No one else should have been around, so I felt uneasy. The next night, Midnight bolted downstairs and started acting strange. While outside with him, he kept looking at the trees where the footprints had been. I didn't want to follow him into the woods, but he was acting as if something was there. I brought him back inside and locked the door. Later that night, I heard footsteps above me, as if someone was walking on the roof. The steps were spaced apart like a man's stride. I went out to check, but the roof was clear. I thought maybe I had imagined it, but then I saw it. A figure crouched in a tree, about 8 feet tall, its long white arms gripping the branches, its mouth wide open. It didn't move or make a sound. My heart raced, and Midnight started whining. He wouldn't go near the balcony door, so I went inside and locked it, too scared to look again. But then I heard soft tapping at the screen door, fingertips against the glass. It went on for an hour, and Midnight stared at the door without moving. I felt like something was calling me to open the door, but then I heard my dad's voice. "Stay in bed, don't do it." I stayed still. I listened to him. Eventually, I fell asleep. When I woke up, the house was silent. I didn't waste time. I packed my things, grabbed Midnight, and left. I still don't know what I saw that night, and I don't want to know, but I never went back to that cabin again. It's still up for sale, and I've heard it's been sold a few times since then. The new owners must not know about the strange things that happened there. Every time I think about the cabin, all I feel is cold. I can't shake the image of that thing in the tree, and I wonder if I'll ever truly be free of it. The whole experience left me shaken for months. It took me a long time to even talk about what happened, let alone tell anyone in detail. The thought of returning to that cabin, or even to the area, was terrifying. I kept asking myself if I had imagined the whole thing, if my mind had just been playing tricks on me due to stress and the isolation. Though part of me knew it wasn't just my imagination. Every time I remember those tapping sounds, those footsteps above me, the thing in the tree, all I feel is that deep cold and that voice warning me to stay inside. I don't know if I'll ever fully understand what happened that night, but I do know that I'm never going back to that place. I still think about it from time to time, especially in the dark, when everything is silent except for the sound of the wind. I remember those whispers in my head, the sound of the fingertips tapping at the door, and my dad's voice saying, "Stay in bed, don't do it." I'll never forget that feeling of cold dread, and I don't think I ever want to. The only thing I do know is that some places are best left undisturbed, and some memories should remain in the past.